Fighting a massive invasion. Total devastation.
Who are we if we can't protect them? We have to protect them.
Hello everybody and welcome to my movie review for A Quiet Place 2. Now, I don't like making movie reviews like this. And as you know, with movies like Army of the Dead, I felt like I kind of had to state my opinion. You can see where this is going. Please hear me out and don't click off before you hear me out. It'd be very, nice to hear others' opinions about this movie. Now, Quiet Place. I know I have not done a movie review for Quiet Place 1, but Quiet Place 2 is out in theaters right now, and from what I can tell is doing pretty well. So I wanted to state my opinions on the movie before the movie gets out of theaters or before people, stop going to the theaters to watch it. Because I have a feeling that people... Yeah, anyway, that's why this is coming out. And unfortunately, I don't have a lot of time tonight anyway, so I don't think I'd be able to edit a Resident Evil 8 video anyway. I have to be up in 7 to 8 hours at this rate. And I'm probably not going to bed for probably another 2 hours. So anyway, because I got home decently late and I want to eat and let my food settle before I settle in for the night. So anyway, now that that's all done, unrelated and unimportant things, Quiet Place Part 2. I was lucky or unlucky, depending on how you'll view it after I talk about it, to watch both Quiet Place 1 and 2 back to back. And it was one of the worst experiences I have had watching movies back to back. Not the theater. I was lucky enough to be able to do it under a setting in which there wasn't really much outside impact. And actually, you know what? This is going to be a Quiet Place 1 and 2 review. Why not? I'll just make this a duel. So this might be a bit of a long video. The first Quiet Place movie. It's not my favorite movie, not by far, but boy does it have fantastic sound design. When I say fantastic, I mean fantastic. I was able to watch this in the theater, and even the Blu-ray has Dolby Atmos audio, which is a high quality audio. And as far as I'm aware, the theater I was watching it in used that audio. So basically, there's the thing towards the end of the movie where there's this timer, and you don't see the timer yet. It's like one of those timers you just turn, and you don't see it yet, So the timer's ticking down, and you're like, what's that ticking? And I heard a ticking coming from the back left speakers. And as the camera moved, the ticking moved around until they showed the thing in front of you. That's fantastic sound design. It's using the sound design to tell a story. Now, if you ever do watch Quiet Place 1 in a theater, be aware. It is one of the worst movies to watch in a theater with other people. Especially a very full theater with other people. Because, unfortunately, when it comes to watching this movie, most of the movie is silent. It's about 90 minutes of silent movie. So, as much... Now, the thing is, though, that's one of the strengths of the first film. It's very unique what they were able to do with the sound design and very little talking. But the thing is, if you're going to do that, you need to have it carry over into the second film. It was one of the most disappointing things about the second film was the sound design. Or the lack of. Because I really couldn't tell. And I watched it in the same theater that I watched the first movie in. So it had the same high quality audio, and it's Dolby Atmos is one of the, if not the highest quality audio we have nowadays. So, I mean, Dolby Cinema uses Atmos audio, Dolby Atmos audio. So, it's a very high quality audio. That's why it takes a lot. Like, there's a lot of speakers in the theater too. So anyway, the first film is really, really well. They used visuals and sound design to tell a story. And it was extremely tense the first time you watch it. If you've not seen the first Quiet Place, I highly recommend you watch it. But be aware to be attentive and be aware that you might want to turn your TV, if you watch it at home, up a little bit. I think it's on sale right now, too. And it probably will be on something sooner or later, like a streaming service at some point. So I highly recommend checking it out. And the thing is, you can't really talk about the second one without talking about the first one. So I am going to talk about the first one. And a little bit of spoiler territory, but I won't get into that spoiler territory till after I talk about the second one. Now, the trailer you saw at the beginning was for the first Quiet Place, and I'm doing this on purpose. The trailer at the end of this video will be for the second Quiet Place. I'm doing that on purpose because something I'm going to say, my favorite part of the film, is spoiled in the trailer. So, I'm going to give you a chance not to watch the trailer before me talking about it. So that's why also doing a double review works. But don't worry, I will let you know preemptively before I spoil the movies. Just so you're aware. Because I'm going to have to spoil the first one to talk about the second one. And I'm going to have to get to some of the disappointing things that I want to talk about. I'm going to have to spoil the movie in some sense. So just be aware. But the first film, and it was really well acted across everybody in the first film. And I really liked it. And there's a scene with a nail. If you've seen it, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And it's really tense. It is extremely rare to find a PG-13 horror film that is able to keep you tense in your seats. Because PG-13 can't do things that R can. It's very difficult to create the same environment and ambience in a PG-13 rated horror film than in an R. It's just hard. It's very hard. So that is why I really appreciate what the first Quiet Place brings to the table. And the monsters as well. In the first film, they didn't really ever show them. You did see him towards the end of the film, and you did see him, but for a while they were this unknown threat. And I really liked that. The first film has a lot going for it. And just so you're aware straight off the bat, I much, much, much prefer the first film to the second film. And I'm going to be completely honest, I do not know why the world is blowing up on this movie. I honestly can't even I don't understand. I really don't understand. Because normally I'm like, oh yeah, I didn't like it, but I can see why other people like it. There are so many inconsistencies between the first and the second film. Chris Stuckman did a review of the second one. He was like, I think that watching these back to back is going to be like the best thing ever. And I did that. And it was not the best thing ever. It was actually the exact opposite. Maybe people just aren't picking up on the inconsistencies, but if you're a fan of the first film, you should be expecting things, you know? One of the best things about the first film was the idea that you couldn't talk. You know? And in the first film, the only way they could talk is if there was a sound louder than their voice. Perfect examples in the movie, they go to a waterfall and literally scream. But the waterfall is too loud and drowns out their noise, so the monsters aren't going to be able to hear them. It's amazing. And that's why the sound design is so important in the movie. And that's why I think it was even nominated and won Best Sound Design in the movie, for like an Oscar or something. It's amazing. It's really, really, really well done. But that's where the issues start to come about, is the second film. So I'm going to start talking about the second film without spoilers now, and then I'll get into spoilers in a little bit. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I want to say about the first film. Also, it took place basically on one farm. That's another thing. Movies that are centered around one location, even if they're only an hour and a half, which most of the times they are, it's very difficult to create a tense horror environment or an entertaining environment at all when you're stuck in one location. Most films will travel to multiple locations that best suit the scene in which they're at. And that is exactly why some movies can keep you entertained. I mean, imagine if Back to the Future was only in a house and they time traveled in that one house back in time, you know? That doesn't sound good. That doesn't entertain you. But when you at least have it town-wise, you have the options opened up. You know, you can choose the school for a dance, or you can choose the road in a tunnel chase sequence, which they both do in, I believe, the first film. It opens up the possibilities. So to be able to do a film where you're trapped in one location and it's centered around that location, the farm is a bigger one. I've seen smaller ones like on a plane, and I've seen other things smaller or stuck in a location, like even space. Stuck in Space is a good one. Not a movie called Stuck in Space, but the location, because and it's just centered around space, you know. It's a very good surprise when a movie can pull something like that off. Now, the second film it's kind of weird. So yeah, the second film it's a bit. So the good news is it does pick up immediately where the first film left off. So you will, in fact, be picking up immediately left off. Now that's one of the benefits of the second film. A lot of franchises nowadays do not pick up right where they left off, because it's so much easier to just skip a couple of years and have a fresh slate. It's so much easier to be like, oh hey, 10 years later in a zombie apocalypse, or 20 years later or something, which Zombieland Double Tap did something like that. And then they can set up whatever they want to set up to start the movie, which then can lead into later jokes or can lead into later plot devices, which allow for later things in the movie. Is that bad? No, that's not bad, but it's impressive again when a movie can pick up right where it left off. So I was intrigued and I was interested. But that's pretty much the last and only thing about the movie that I really liked. I mean, I love the opening sequence. The opening sequence of the movie was super well directed, and it was my favorite part of the film. But it was also spoiled in the trailer. One of the best shots and one of the best sequences spoiled in the trailer. I hate when trailers do that. I really don't like when trailers do that. But yeah. So I really don't like that. So yeah, that is what it is. That's why I'll put that second trailer at the end. But as another thing, yeah, anyway, sorry. Kind of got sidetracked. Anyway, moving on. Moving on to the rest of the movie. The whole idea of it being a quiet place. So you figure the first film was extremely quiet. So it's going to continue. It takes place right after. It's going to continue with those ideas. Well, no. This movie is actually quite loud, as a matter of fact. There is most of the time music playing in the background. Unlike the first one, didn't have a lot of music. There was music in a bunch of the movie, but they used the silence to their advantage. They used it to make scenes tense. And the whole idea of characters not talking, because again, the first film has very little dialogue. Very little. And the rest is through sign language, which is also really good. Sign language is very underutilized in this movie, the second one. And apparently people feel like they can talk pretty much wherever, and they're not going to have any consequences to it. For example, two characters are talking very shortly after escaping from a monster, one of the creatures. And yeah, one guy's very quietly talking. But in the first film, if he had very quietly talked, or if someone had very quietly talked in the first film, a creature would have been able to come and find them pretty much immediately. Because otherwise, why weren't they quietly whispering in the first film? And I'm not talking about, some people would be like, oh, they were underground. No, there's sections of the movie where they're underground, there's layers of concrete above them, so you'd have to be right above them to hear them talking if they're whisper talking. Yes, that's a different thing. They were in a store, and he's very, very quietly whisper talking to another character, and there's nothing stopping the sound from leaving that room. And according to the rules of the first movie, that right there should have been the end of him, and possibly not both of them. So that upsets me. It's not following the same rules of the first film already. And oh geez, sorry. I picked up my mic to move it a little bit, and it started flapping all over the place. But it really upset me. I mean, the first film had such a good, and I love the sound design in the first film. I didn't realize how much I loved it. But there's a lot of music and a lot of loud sounds in this movie. There's a lot of gunfire, too. I mean, not a huge amount, but there was very little in the first film. Very little. There's a bunch of gunfire in this film, comparatively to the first. So, again, I think that's kind of the idea, though, was that it was going to be less of, that horrifying environment, because the first film ends a certain way. Possibly with shotgun fire, perhaps, because, I mentioned that. But it wasn't quiet. And that was one of the best and unique things about the first film. And I don't know if people are fans of the first film, or, I mean, I've seen a couple of reviews saying, I didn't like the first one, at least from what I remember after we rewatch it. But I love this one. How? The first film had such a better idea and presence than the second film does. And I also saw something on Instagram where the director was like, normally when studios make a sequel, it's all about money. I didn't want to be a part of that. Well, you were. I hate to say it, but this film, I mean, even from the trailer, when you watch it, it felt like a trailer that felt like a completely separate movie or an unnecessary film. The trailer introduces a random character we've never met before. Actually, several. And normally when films do that, it's either for wasting character purpose, throwing them out, or using them as a plot device, or it's a very uninteresting character that we have no backstory knowing or caring about. And to be honest, it follows that mostly to a T. And the trailer, I was interested. I liked the first film, so I was interested in the second one. But the trailer, the best part about it again was the opening sequence. But yeah, anyway, gonna move on. Gotta keep my thoughts together here. Okay. So, the film's a mess. It can't seem... I mean, most sequels do this kind of thing, where they don't follow the same rules as the first. And if this takes place immediately after, I don't care in what world you're in. No matter how the first movie ended, if they're being quiet the entirety of the first film, you're not going to all of a sudden change your methods because you feel a bit more powerful. And again, one of those methods is how quiet they're being throughout the first film. Seriously, watch them back to back. And if you don't notice all the inconsistencies, now if you don't care about the inconsistencies, and normally I'm not a kind of an inconsistency kind of person, but when they're really blatantly obvious, it's hard for me not to point them out. Especially after doing a back-to-back movie. When you pick up your movie right where they left off, which is another thing, if this movie had been 10 years later, that may have been a different story. If this movie was 10 years later, and they found out that they could talk a little bit quiet, a little bit quieter, or found out that they had some more weaknesses or something like that, that's a different story. That gives us time in between and more believably enough to say, hey, I'm able to identify, that talking very quietly they won't hear. But they have to set that up. Because sometimes a time gap is better than picking up right after the first film. And for this movie, that probably would have saved it for me. Having a time gap. Because it's a very minor detail that's overlooked very quickly in the movie, is that it takes place immediately after the first film. And it kind of feels like they went away from it as fast as they could. Because they actually pretty much leave the farmhouse almost immediately. Which is also a weird thing. This is your home, yet you're running away from it immediately? After the events of the first one? Because supposedly there were more creatures coming for them at the end of the first one. But at the same time, they have enough time to get a couple items. And at the end of the first film, we see all the monsters coming for them. They would have been there within seconds. They wouldn't have had time to leave. They would have been, trying to crawl, whisper away from everybody. All those creatures. They weren't. I don't think that they would have been able to run from those creatures. It doesn't seem very likely from what we've seen, even in the second film. They're extremely fast creatures. So, anyway, I'm going to give my movie rating now. First film, I'm going to give it a solid A. Now, I don't have too many inconsistencies with the first film. But I'm giving it an A as how much me watching it the second time, I think I've only seen it one time before, second time, and how much it still awed me to how good of a movie it was. The sound design can be a lot, and sound design in movies are sometimes so underutilized. And most of the time in kids' movies, as a matter of fact, they're underutilized. They spend more money on the budget for the animation than if it's an animated movie, than they do. Or it's a musical or something, and it's highly underutilized. It's just a fact of kids' movies. So to see a movie that focused on sound design and that incredible on sound design is awesome. The second film, I'm going to give it a C-. I can understand why some people might get enjoyment, but I have no idea why people in the entire world are just ignoring all the plot inconsistencies and some of the things that happen in the film and how people are not off-put by the fact that this stuff is happening. So now we are going to get into spoiler territory. You can skip to the end of the video if you'd like to watch the trailer, or I'm probably not going to put a title card in because I probably don't have time. Or check down below for Quiet Place Part 2 trailer. It should say that down below. So first, one thing that really bugs me. We meet this character almost halfway through the... Okay, well, I guess you should start from the beginning of the second film. So the first film ends with them finding out that a loud pitched noise can disrupt the creatures, like, because they're very sound based. So using a hearing aid that her dad, quote unquote, fixed, I guess, or didn't, it like messes them up and gets them weak enough, and then if you shotgun them in the face, it kills them. Though pretty much the only time a shotgun is used in the film, because the first film, because shotguns are extremely loud, and as we see at the end of the first film, a bunch of monsters are heading toward them, and it's very, very abrupt in the fact that all these creatures are coming for them, and there's like 3 different ones that they would be there almost instantaneously because they are super fast, and they would not be able to get away as quickly as they did in the second movie. I don't care if they took off immediately running, they would have been on them already, because they have cameras set up around, and my guess is, again, I don't know for sure, but they're not super far away from the house. There's no reason to set cameras 2 miles away from the house. Fact being, you'd have to run cables, all that. I mean, unless they're wireless. I highly doubt they're wireless in almost a post-apocalyptic type place. But my point also being that it has to be semi-close to the house. It can be a distant ways off, but my guess is most of the cameras are near the house enough so that the cables aren't running like freaking crazy all over the place. And even if it was like Wi-Fi based or signal based, they could only go so far. It wouldn't be a super far distance from the house. So the monsters would have been there very quickly, not enough for them to have escaped and run away like they did. Also, the film does this thing where they show us stuff from the first film. There's a couple of things. I can't remember some of the stuff they show. Oh, the very first shot of both films is of the same street. The first film is of it in the past. Not in the past, in the current day, which is all messed up. Where we meet, I believe we meet our characters. Yeah, we do. And in the second one, it's before everything. And we also see a pharmacy, which is apparently the only pharmacy, pardon me, dang pharmacy. Apparently, the first word I said there is a swear word. I don't think it is. I don't know why people say that is a swear word. But anyway, the only pharmacy in the Garsh town. Hopefully I will remember to edit that out. In the freaking town. It's pretty much the only pharmacy, I guess, because it's the only pharmacy they go to. But I do like the fact that they showed us the before and the after in the sequel. I like that. But I also figured, I wonder if the movie starts off with the second movie when I was watching the first one. If the second movie starts off with the exact same street thing. So it was predictable. I still liked it. Not any reason that I added the predictability into my rating, but still. And then the opening scene happens. I'm not going to talk about it in detail because it's my favorite part of the film, and I'm going to leave it as a surprise for anyone who wants to watch the film or the trailer, because I guess technically the trailer would have part of it in there as well. But I was talking to someone I saw the movie with, and I was like, I wonder if they're going to show the bridge. In the first film, they show a bridge where one of the family members died at the very beginning because the little kid was playing with a toy, and it was loud, and monsters came and snatched him up. Assuming killing him, we never see him again, so it's that, but they have a little cross. And I was like, I wonder if we're going to see that again. And sure enough, later in the movie, toward the middle-ish, endish, we're at that bridge again. What do you know? And it's very predictable. Sequels tend to do that. Show the locations of the first film, the locations people love. It's kind of like fan service. Homage to the original. And there are so many inconsistencies. I'm sorry. I'm just trying to figure out where to start. So, also, I don't know. This one's not so much an inconsistency as me not knowing. I know that deaf people can, in fact, talk. But I don't know if, in this universe, this deaf girl could talk. There's only 3 sections in the second movie. At least, that I can recall. And are silent, and they're all from the deaf girl's perspective, which they did in the first film. But otherwise, everything else is loud. It's a very loud movie. It's far from what A Quiet Place 1 was, and maybe that's why people liked it. A lot of people did not like Quiet Place 1, probably because it was very quiet. Yet, critics absolutely loved it because of that fact, because it was very unique. And that's why I liked the movie. The first one. I'm not a critic normally, though. At least not the standard definition of a critic. I think that Jeez! Just fell. I feel like most of my reviews go away from what critics would normally say. But anyway. What else do we got? We see how the beginning goes to the movie. We see stuff like that. But some inconsistencies. As I said, they talk. They are very haphazardly okay with just talking or making silly mistakes that they would have learned from shortly, like a day before, having everything happen from what happened in the first film. They would not have made such haphazardly mistakes. Being careless. I mean, for Pete's sakes, they split up. The girl goes to try to find a song that's playing on the radio, which they say that they couldn't hear the song because it's like over the ridge or something. They couldn't hear it. It's a certain frequency that only can be heard in a certain place. But she goes off and takes the shotgun, which was apparently one of their only guns, because she used the earpiece alongside the shotgun. You stun them with the earpiece, making it, very loud and high pitched, and they're like all shaken and messed up, and then you shoot them in the face. But she takes a weapon and leaves her family unarmed in the middle of the night. And then the guy goes after her, which is a family friend. They introduce him in the earlier flashback, but no one we meet in the first film, so that follows what I stated earlier. He does not die in the movie, but he is a pretty useless character, one that just is there to push the plot along, following still what I said earlier. He ends up going after the girl, and she kind of, I guess, convinces him in that conversation where they're in a store behind a window, and just after escaping a monster that would have been lurking semi-nearby and would have been able to hear this guy whisper talking as he's trying to tell her something because she's deaf and he doesn't know how to sign. Again, a bit pet peeved and annoyed at the fact that, I may have used that wrong, but the fact that they think it's okay to just talk. They wouldn't be okay with this, especially if they've survived this long. Because from my understanding of the first film, any noises, unless there's a noise louder than you, and I highly doubt there were no noises louder. And I'm going to be honest, sound design, what sound design? there wasn't much sound design in the second film. And if there was, I couldn't hear it because it was covered up by music. Or some other thing. There was not a lot of quiet sections of the movie that you could hear the sound design. And I tried to listen. I mean, of course, that's something that you might get on the second viewing, but I don't, most of the reviewers probably watch it one time and then write their review. So I'm not going to assume that they watched it multiple times before writing their review to hear the sound design specifically. So, but anyway, they go off to find an island to find these people. And in the first film, we see the monsters go underwater and stay underwater for a decent period of time. That'll come back in a minute. Well, toward the end of the film, we find out that this island is fine. Everyone on this island is fine. They are living life normally because apparently the monsters can't swim to the island. That's a bit annoying. That's using a technicality. They can't swim far, I guess. It's using a technicality because we saw them underwater in the first film. And it's just using a technicality that we did not see them swim far. I don't like that. Anyway. But anyway, they're there. Then the mother decides, oh hey, my son, his son got stuck in a bear trap, by the way, and he was screaming his lungs out. With her covering up his mouth, he would have been dead. It was much louder than the little airplane from the first film. And he would have been dead almost instantaneously, but no, apparently they just waned and waned and waned. The monsters did, or the creature did, before attacking long enough for them to get the bear trap off and for them to run away, or actually face a monster. He would have been dead. I mean, if you watch the beginning of the first film, the monster was there almost instantaneously. Unless we're using another technicality and they're just saying, oh, the monsters were just closer in the first film to them, but not as close in the second film, so it takes them more time to get there. There is no knowledge of where the monsters were in the first or second film. And also, there was some information, I don't remember what it was, I'd have to watch the film again, and I don't plan on doing that. There was some information that we're assuming something, like maybe the mother picking up a gun or something. I can't remember. There was some sort of detailed information that I was like, well, where's this information? We never saw this. And then the person I was watching the movie said, oh, deleted scene. Most likely a deleted scene at that point that they just removed from the film. And that's a possibility. I don't remember what the detail was, but that's a possibility. But I'm just going to assume because the film has to be coherent. And I was like, you know what? No, that's not coherent enough for me. You need to, I also, little details, if it was just a couple of details, there's more plot holes than Army of the Dead. There are more plot holes. And you know my opinion on Army of the Dead. If you've watched my Army of the Dead movie review, you know. But I'm going to be honest, there's so many more plot holes in this movie. And there's so many inconsistencies. I'm 90% sure, and I'll explain at the end, but... well, hold on, I'll wait. I'll wait to speak of that. Anyway, moving on. But the girl and him, go off to the island. The mother takes off, goes, and this is when she goes and passes by the bridge, goes to the pharmacy again, and not only takes more medicine, when in the first film she could have just taken all the medicine and saved them several trips in a literal life or death scenario to stop them from having to go back out to the store, the pharmacy. But she also takes multiple oxygen containers because the way that, which is ingenious, the way they're keeping their baby safe, because they also, one fantastic thing about the first film is that she had to have a baby while this is all going on. And they used a louder noise to cover up the sound. Fantastic. Again, reutilizing the idea that a louder sound is needed to cover up her screaming when she's giving birth. fantastic. But anyway, in the second film, right, she takes a bunch of oxygen containers because the baby's in this like airtight box, so they use an oxygen mask and this container of oxygen. Now, as far as we are shown, they only grabbed one oxygen container in the first film. We don't see more as far as I'm aware. I could have missed something. And we only see one. And it lasted them from their house. And apparently this baby was just literally born, by the way. But from their house to this other place. And for a while through the movie, until they're locked in this container of some sorts. It's like a oven, kind of, where they have to put this towel on the edge to lock it. And by doing that, it allows them to unlock it to get out. And you can only be in there for so long before the oxygen level runs out. Well, later the kid goes in there with the baby. So the kid and the baby are alone. The mother's off in the pharmacy getting all the stuff. And the other people are off on an island. So they split up. They literally split themselves up. Why would you do this? Plus, the mother took a gun with her. A revolver of some sort to look like a pistol. Okay, so the first girl took a shotgun and left. The mother took a pistol and left her kid with her baby unarmed. Why would you do this? Why would you not at least take them with you? It would be so much safer for them if they were with you. Really? But no, that doesn't happen. And the kid is stupid enough, I guess you could put it down to a panicking moment where he goes into that thing I talked about, but doesn't put the towel over it and locks himself in. Now here's we go. We've only ever seen one oxygen container, the only one that they took with them, and as far as I know, the only one that they grabbed bringing back to the house. It's lasted that long throughout the entire movie until now, and I'm saying we're probably at least an hour into the movie at this point, if not more. And inside the container, it starts to run out because they're locked in tension, The air starts to run out, and the baby and the kid are in there, and they can't unlock it. Well, the mother gets back finally, and she decides to use one of the oxygen containers because, why not? And tries to blow it up right next to the creature to, kill it or at least harm it. Nah, doesn't do anything. Nothing. Just explosion. Turns the water on. Sprinkler system on. Whatever, right? She's having her whole thing, like a fight with this creature, and I think she ends up killing it, or at least getting it annoyed enough to leave for a little bit. And then she goes down and opens the thing, and her son's almost passed out, but she has one oxygen container left. She gets in there and closes it again, with the towel there this time, which we don't ever see her put the towel up. We never, as far as I'm aware, again, I could have missed it, but we don't see her put the towel up, so I'm assuming she didn't put the towel up. But I guess I can let that one go, because that's more of a shocking, like, they're about to close it and she's gonna get stuck in there. Oh no, she put the towel up. We're okay. So I'll let that one slide a little bit. But anyway, they're in there, and then it's a little while later, but I'm guessing not extraordinarily long later. Like, not the same time frame from the first film to now, which would have probably been a couple days at this point. Again, as far as we're shown, that one oxygen container lasted that long. They're not always using it, to be fair, but as far as we're aware, it lasted that long. And there was a lot of times the baby was in the thing. Now, unless there was more oxygen containers, but they just don't show us. As far as we know, she only grabbed one. And if she grabbed more than one in the first film, she only took one with her when she left the house. They didn't have much stuff with them when they left the house. I'm pretty sure they only had one, unless this guy just happened to have more lying around. But they went through all of them, just enough, so it's conveniently sending them back, the mom back to the pharmacy, leaving her kids alone. It's very hard for me to believe. So we cut back to the other people, but a little while later, we cut back to them in that thing, right? And, well, the oxygen container is running low on oxygen. Because they've kept it closed, which, from our knowledge of the first film, if you've seen it, the creatures seem to lose interest pretty fast. The creatures would have been gone quite shortly after that, and they wouldn't have lurked around, which is apparently what happens because they lurk around. And when they come out later, they start attacking. But anyway, back to the people on the island. They get to the island, and everyone's all lollygaggy, happy, fun. We're all having fun, listening to music, doing stuff, ha ha ha. Which I still think is BS that they couldn't get to the island from swimming, because we saw them in the water and underwater for quite a while. So, my guess is, like a minute and a half, which is a not minute and a half, 30 seconds, It was a while, longer than I think most people can hold their breath for. So, I'm pretty sure they could get pretty far, because they said that it was only about a day travel. Took them about 2 days to get to the island. I figure the monsters could pretty much swim there. It's not that far away. Seems logically that they could, is what I'm trying to say. But I'm not holding that in the reason why I don't like this movie either. That one's a maybe. Not putting it under the guaranteed category. But anyway, I say that a lot. But we meet this other character, this other guy who's running this place, and he seems, very nice and whatnot, but a super useless character who will be extremely more useless coming up here. He talks about having, you see him with his family. Oh, you start to like him, and you're like, oh, he has a family. Well, this guy, the guy that we followed over, who used to be a friend of the family's, we find on a beach alone, and he hears this noise, and he goes to investigate, and it's a ship that earlier he was dealing with that involved some people who were attacking them, because people are worse than the creatures, because, people be that way sometimes. Which, yeah, that can happen, especially in an apocalyptic situation. So, give him credit for that. But, anyway, jeez, I say that a lot. I'm sorry. Sorry, I yawned. But the creature got onto that boat and just apparently, unless he actually drove it, it just happened to float all the way into a very, very specific near a drainage pipe on this island that had a creature on it. Just happened to go in the exact right direction in the middle of the water that the wolf was not in fact, not the wolf, the creature was not in fact in control of. Sorry, I looked up on my Xbox and there was a word wolves on the screen and I was like, what? Oh, wolf, that's not, oh yeah, no, that's not right. But it makes no sense to me. That makes no sense. And then the thing starts coming in. Another great sequence of directing. Creatures going around killing a bunch of people. And also, the guy we're following just grabs his kid who looks like he's played by a puppet. And that was a joke made by someone I went to see the movie with. The actor looked so stiff. It was a kid, looked so stiff. Literally did not say anything. Did not look like he had emotion. Did not look like he even knew that there was a creature going on. He just picked him up, put him down, and it looked like he was I'm a real boy. Yeah, sure, Pinocchio. Sure, we'll go with that. But beside the weird puppet actor boy, they get in a car and they drive off to the station which the radio signal is, because the whole idea is the girl takes the little radio earpiece and puts it through there. Apparently it can help a lot of people. I don't get how specifically it can help a lot of people, because we already know that this limited range of this radio station is to a very close proximity, because they couldn't hear it at their house, which means anything beyond there probably isn't going to get it either. If they could not get the radio station at their house, only a certain area of people are going to be able to pick up the station with that exact frequency on it. So it's only going to be a very limited area of people that are going to be okay and safe from these creatures. They're going to roam elsewhere. It's not like you're saving the entire world here, girl. So I don't know what you're doing. And by honestly going this far, you put your family in more risk than it's worth. If you guys had just stayed there or continued going somewhere else together, you probably would have been safer. Because when you take that earpiece away, and when you take the shotgun away, you left your family in a much tougher position in which they could not defend themselves. And you say, well, they survived till the end, which they did, so they must defend themselves. Well, they really didn't in the end. They got to the radio station, they used the earpiece on the radio station to make a very loud sound, and the boy tries to be brave and take the pistol and goes out and is about to shoot it, but it kind of like passes out or dies because of the sound. The kid never shoots it. So we don't even know if the pistol would have killed it, but I can guarantee you one thing. Then they really didn't. She defended against the creature, but they never killed it alone, leaving them, their family, the kid, the mom, and the baby in more risk than it was worth to go on this trip. I'm sorry, but there's no logical reason for them to have gone on this trip. Even if, because the radio station would have been inevitably pointless. Other than to find that this island was worth living on, because the creatures can't get to it. They brought a creature with them anyway, causing it trouble, so it really was inevitably completely and entirely pointless. But anyway, moving on. And yeah, I'm spoiling a lot, but I'm going through all my inconsistencies. So, again, when I said talk about spoilers, I meant it. If you wanted to watch the movie, you should have watched the movie first. But anyway, so either way, yeah, that's what's going on with that. But yeah, this guy, when they get to the radio tower, they go in and he perfectly is like kind of not worried about anything. And he gets there and he gets out of the car and he's like, I have to go back. My family. And he starts taking steps back closer to what looks like this garage door. And I'm like, oh, okay. Stop, dude. Really? It felt like, the way I describe it is, it was like, okay, we need to get this guy to the door. And whatever he has to say, whatever the reasoning is to get him from where he's standing to the door, we have to do, because he needs to die. And sure enough, he gets his legs swept under and gets pulled away. Kind of cool, but very distracting in the fact that he was like, I have to go back, I have to go back, I have to go back. Which I understand, family. But he also seemed very unconcerned about his family when he was racing out of there in his car. So I'm sorry, but I don't believe that he would have been. He seems like a big family man, so I don't understand. Now, maybe it's a situation. So again, I'm not putting this really as a part of the reason why I gave the rating I did, but I'm still confused as to how him being, from what I can understand, a family man, forgetting about his family to take care of random strangers and this random kid that I'm pretty sure they did, which was the weird boy who was a looked like played by a puppet, to safety, which I don't even know if that kid left the town or not. But anyway, That guy died. He was a completely entirely useless character, which is also something I said earlier, that they either used to kill them or to further the plot, which they did technically use it to further the plot, because they got him from point A to point B once they were on the island, which was to the radio tower. So it was to further the plot. But anyway, they get in there, they flip the thing on, and they get it working. And apparently, which I'm guessing is realistic, there's a speaker on the outside which he flips, because now there's the creature on the island at the radio station, and the creature back where they were at, where that little thing is, and the door's ripped off now, and it's reaching in. Well, she plays it over the speaker, and the kid hears it, and he, turns up the radio, having the monster hear the sound. And now, here's where it's a very reminiscent of the first film. In the first film, the mother, the girl uses the speaker to play the sound, and then the mother goes up and shoots the creature in the face, killing it. Well, now we have the kids going up to do it. But as I stated, the boy doesn't kill it. It kind of passes out, so he didn't do anything. And apparently the girl is the freaking Hulk, because she takes a pipe of some sort and literally bashes it into the creature's skull enough to where it's middle of his head, of the creature's skull. Now, it takes a shotgun to kill this thing, and we actually saw earlier in the film a shotgun shot did nothing to it by the girl herself. Kind of just brushed it aside and continued going after her. But she, not even a couple of swings. If I had a couple of swings over and over and over again, beating it down, would have made sense. One fell swoop swing into the creature's skull. And it's dead. Really. I don't believe that they're that weak, because if they were that weak... Now, yeah, if someone can say, well, when the sound goes up, it makes their head vulnerable, and then you go in. I don't believe that. Under those specific circumstances, I just don't believe that. Because then when she did it earlier in the film, when the shotgun was going off, because she did the same thing. She used the sound thing and shot the shotgun at it. Maybe she missed the head. They don't really show us, but my guess is she aimed for the head. And the creature isn't dead, so I'm assuming that's not exactly how it works completely. I don't think that she would be She-Hulk with this creature and be able to kill it in one fell swoop. Again, if it had been a couple, yes. But one fell swoop, I don't believe she's the Hulk. And also, it ends the exact same way the first film ends. Because they kill the creature and then it cuts out to black and has the same font and type of credits as the first one does, which is nothing wrong with that. There is so many inconsistencies with this film. And they went from point A to point B to end the film the same way they ended the first one? Feeling more powerful because they killed 2 of them? The next film, are they going to kill 3 creatures? And then the 4th one, they're going to kill 4. And the 5th one, they're going to kill 5. The 6th one, they're going to kill 6. The 7th one, they're going to kill 7. And the 8th, they're going to kill 8. And then 9 is going to be the end, and they're going to kill every single creature on the planet. Is this going to become Resident Evil or something? Which I haven't even seen all those, but still. There's a lot of things happening in the film that are unbelievable. Especially with universe-stated things from the first film. And on top of it, just unbelievable. The characters aren't stupid. They just went through hell. 10 years later, again, I could believe that. Because it's been 10 years. But it's been a couple days. It's not like they forgot everything that happened in the first film. It's not like they didn't see their family member die. What family member? I guess you have to watch the first film to find out. Yeah. Although the deductibility with that answer is not that hard to come across. But anyway. That's my point. The movie has a lot wrong with it, and I just don't understand how anyone who was a fan of the first film could go through this movie and not question some of these things. I mean, again, a pipe through the head. Sure, maybe it wasn't just an empty pipe, maybe there's some wires in there or something, but one fell swoop through the head? She's not the Hulk. It's still a skull of some sort. I highly doubt you would be able to shove that thing straight through the skull in one swoop. Maybe two, or maybe one and then pull it back, and then one more time at the very least. I mean, I don't think anyone could do one fell swoop like that. Not just a young girl, but anyone. I don't think a single character in the movie, let alone probably most of the people that are alive left, would be able to do that. It just does not logically make any sort of sense. So yes, it's a movie, but still, when it's so blatantly obvious, come on. I'm sorry, but come on. Now, here's the thing. If you like this movie, here's the thing. If you liked it, tell me why I'm wrong in the comments. Tell me why you like the movie, but don't just say, oh, it has good sound design. Because obviously, you listen to this far, and you've stated, you've been here, you've heard me talk, and you know that I already said that I did not hear any sound design. I need more specifics. Give me specifics. Dispute what I am saying. Have a discussion. So anyway, that's basically everything I can think of, and it's 59 minutes now, so I'm going to wrap this up. But again, I don't really know. I don't know why. I don't get why everyone adores this movie when I noticed so many plot holes, and I may have missed some stuff too. Plot holes and inconsistencies. So, whatever, but we've reached an hour, and you might be like, well, why didn't you just edit a Resident Evil 8 video? It's over an hour. I do more editing on those than I do on this. I'm going to do very little editing on this when it goes in, because, yeah, this is me talking. Where the other one is actual gameplay. I want to make sure that the, audios line up. There isn't anything wrong with my voice in those. It takes longer to do than this. This I can get done in about 5 to 10 minutes, get it going, and get it uploading fairly quickly, very easily. But anyway, that's going to do it for this movie review. Again, I enjoyed it for some things, but the inconsistencies and plot holes really just drove me to not like the movie in the end. If you liked it, again, please let me know in the comments, not hatefully, but constructively. Let me know why you liked it and where I'm wrong, and I will read them, and I will honestly try to take it, because if for some odd reason I can understand why people like this movie, maybe I'll like it more myself. But thank you for listening, and if you listened after and also were upset that I spoiled the movie, I'm going to be honest with you here. When I said they were spoilers, they were spoilers. I wanted to get everything off my chest, so I'm sorry. But anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.
What is going on? It's okay, baby. It's okay.
Mom,
Yeah.
you came all the way up here.
There's nothing left.
Please. There are people out there worth saving.